Okay, everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here. My name's Marina Gonzalez. I'm the president and CEO of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce here in San Antonio. We're very proud to welcome our candidates today and offer this presentation and lively discussion. I do want to thank True Flavors Catering for providing the food for us today. And on that note, it is my honor to introduce our 2022 board chairwoman, Denise Hernandez.
Thank you, Marina. And thank you all for being here with us today. Today's forum is a joint effort co-hosted by the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, and the North Chamber of Commerce, along with South Texas Business Partnerships. The purpose of this forum is to inform members about the runoff candidates' position on issues facing our small business community and the community at large. While none of the chambers endorse candidates, we understand the integral role they play in creating a business-friendly environment. And I'd like to thank our candidates for being here with us today. Today we have State Representative Ina Minjarez. Thank you so much for joining us. And Judge Peter Sakai. Please note that today's forum is being recorded and we have members of the media joining as well. We will have a live Q&A session at the end of the forum, and we will take questions if time permits. Without further ado, I'd also like to introduce our moderator, our friend, and our board member, Mr. Eddie Aldrete. Thank you for being here, Eddie. Sorry, I have my notes here to make sure I get it all right. In January 2022, Eddie founded Aldrete Strategic Partnership, a full-service public affairs consulting firm, and today serves as the firm CEO. Prior to forming Aldrete Strategic Partnership, Eddie spent 16 years as Senior Vice President for IBC Bank, where he oversaw all public affairs, legislative, and regulatory efforts for the bank. For 3 years, he chaired the Texas-Mexico Trade Coalition for the Texas Association of Business, and today serves as the Secretary of the Board of Directors, for TAB, our state's Chamber of Commerce. In 2011, he served as the board chair for the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and today serves as my chair advisor, and so I'm so honored to have his guidance. He is also the host of the soon-to-launch podcast, The Exchange, with Eddie Aldrete. So please welcome Eddie and give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Denise. And thank all of you for being here in person, and also a special thank you to all of those watching online. One quick note. At your table, there is a social media card, so we encourage all of you, if there are any teachers in the room, I know you might normally say put your phones down, but I will ask that you keep your phones out so that you can promote this very, very important election and talk about the issues that are important and why we need people to turn out to vote, both in this runoff and in the general election in November. Today's forum is a conversation. It is not a formal debate. And so let me just talk about how the format that we're going to use. Each candidate will begin with an opening statement that can go up to 2 minutes. And after their opening remarks, I'll begin asking questions. And to each response, we will give the candidates 2 minutes each. If one of the candidates would like to respond to the 2-minute answer, they may do so in a minute or less. So at the end of the moderated conversation, we will have a Q&A from the audience, and then we will close with a 2-minute closing statement. So the goal is to have a candid conversation. We don't have an official timekeeper, but I'm going to try to keep a close eye on the time as well, to ensure that we're able to get in as many questions as possible to share with our audience. So with that, let's turn to the candidates. In the May 24th Democratic primary runoff, we have State Representative Ina Minjarez and Judge Peter Sakai. Earlier, the candidates agreed to flip a coin, and with that, Representative Ina Minjarez will go first with her opening statement, and she will go last in the closing statement. Representative Minjarez.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Judge Sakai. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all this evening, or this afternoon, but I especially want to thank you all for combining the chambers so that we don't have to go to multiple forums. As you can imagine, our schedules are packed. For those of you that don't know me, my name is State Representative Ina Minjarez, and I was born and raised in El Paso, Texas, attended the University of Notre Dame and St. Mary's Law School, and this is where I settled. I decided to make my life here, plant my roots here. Began as a prosecuting attorney for Bexar County under Judge Susan Reed at the time in the year of 2000. And then after serving my time as a prosecutor, I opened up my legal practice. I had a small business where I represented children in foster care as well as defendants who were accused of criminal activity. Finally, in April of 2015, I decided to take the plunge and run for state representative for House District 124. I won a special election and I'm served in that capacity. I've been very proud to serve in particular because I have had a voice at the Capitol on very important issues similar to those that will come before Bexar County Commissioner's Court. I served on appropriations, which handled and was responsible for over a $200 billion budget for the state of Texas. I served on committees like transportation, health and human services, land and resource management, as well as urban affairs, cybersecurity. So those are just a few of the committees that I served on. This is very specialized experience that's going to be needed for the next Bexar County judge. I understand those types of issues. I understand the budget priorities that are needed. We are coming out of a pandemic. We are coming out of a number of issues which is going to require bold leadership, measured leadership, and balanced leadership. Someone who can help get the court working, moving the court forward, working with our sheriff, working with our district attorney's office, also being a voice for small businesses and the business community as well, working on issues that our community and our voters care about. Property tax reform, meaningful reform, looking at our infrastructure needs, community public health and safety. Just a number of issues. I have that experience. I hope that I am the next Bexar County judge, and I look forward to coming out of the May election.
Thank you. Judge Sakai.
Well, thank y'all. I want to thank the Chamber and its partners and KSAT for live streaming this forum. I think this is an important race for Bexar County. My name is Judge Peter Sakai. I'm running for county judge. I come to you today as a servant leader who always puts community first. I will tell you, I'm not running to move up the political ladder. I want to thank the Chamber and recognize you for your valuable and your expertise and skill set in representing the business economy. You are a powerful voice and advocate for the business community. And I want to pledge to you that we need to work together as partners to address the complex issues in our community. As your partner, I promise to listen. Enhance customer service by ensuring consistency with county government, by having an open and transparent government, one that breaks down the silos of bureaucracies, one that has to work with the city, the state, the federal government, and also the unincorporated areas and the 26 municipalities that consist of Bexar County. What this COVID-19 pandemic has taught us is that county government should play a role in our economy, in our businesses, and most important, the greatest asset, the children and families, and to make sure that they're safe and thriving. I'm going to recognize my wife, Rachel, as my wife and life partner for over 40 years. The reason why I'm doing that is because she is also a servant leader. She was recently inducted into the San Antonio Women's Hall of Fame for volunteerism and public service. And basically, she is the heart and soul and conscience of this campaign, and I'll be honest with you, she keeps me in line. So voting for Judge Peter Sakai, you get 2 for 1 in this deal. And I'm asking for your support to be your next county judge.
Thank you. Candidates, in his recent book, The Mayor and the Judge, Judge Nelson Wolff admitted that in retrospect, that he and the mayor, quote, look like alarmists, end quote, on keeping businesses closed as long as they did. He also said that Governor Abbott was correct in reopening the state in March of 2021. Should there be, God forbid, another COVID variant outbreak, how will you balance concerns over community health as well as balancing with personal freedoms?
Sure, Eddie, thank you for that important question. You know, one of the things that I applaud our leadership is the fact that they handled a pandemic that no one expected. I'm going to be frank here. Our leadership on the national side did not take this pandemic serious. They did not do what was necessary, the preparations that were needed. They didn't take the lead. So what ended up happening was state leadership stepped in, county leadership with Judge Nelson Wolff, and our mayor. And they did the best that they could in a limited time frame with very little information, not knowing what COVID was going to do, the devastation that it brought, the fact that our hospitals were packed, the fact that people were dying. They had very little limited information. There's no perfection in a pandemic, in a crisis, but I believe they did the best that they could. We now have a blueprint to learn from. We've learned from mistakes, we learned what worked and what doesn't work. Now we can move forward. We want to ensure our businesses, we can't have another shutdown. There needs to be a balanced and measured approach, but what I would expect is if we face another pandemic, if there's another surge, our businesses understand that their employees need to be safe and healthy. They understand customers need to be safe and healthy. So I trust that they will also understand that they have to take good faith measures to ensure that protocols are in place, to make sure that they follow CDC guidelines, but also to understand that personal freedoms, when they start infringing on the health and safety of our community, that is a cause for concern. But there can be a balanced approach where our business community offers their advice, where they can give their expert opinion, but we know that they also care about and invest in the community and the employees that they have under them.
Judge?
Well, my first comment on this question is I've never known Judge Wolff to second guess himself, first and foremost. But nonetheless, you know what? This question is really about the balance of public health and obviously keeping our businesses open, especially the small businesses that were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm not going to second guess Governor Abbott. I'm not going to second guess Judge Wolff and the decisions he's made. But I'll tell you what I would do, and this is what the leadership of Judge Sakai is all about. As county judge, it's going to be my job to ensure the health and well-being of our community. But I'm going to have to balance that in closing small businesses, it is going to affect them. It may put them out of business. It is going to affect the employees who are not going to get paid. So there are very tough decisions to make. The livelihood and what the impact on our economy will be. But this is who Judge Sakai is. I'm going to trust the data. I'm going to trust the science. I'm going to trust the doctors to help me make the decisions. I'm not going to tell you today, I'm going to keep businesses open, I'm going to close businesses, or, okay, we'll let things run the way it should run. Because as we saw in the pandemic, if we have to bring refrigeration trucks to our hospitals to take care of those dead bodies, and we saw that, then I'm going to have to make the tough decision as to what we need to do to protect our community. And I have to do what's best for this community, from not only a health and well-being, but to protect the businesses. And it's no different what I did as a district court judge in the courthouse, hearing those abuse and neglect cases. I made life and death decisions every day for those kids. And that's what you're going to need in the post-pandemic recovery process. This COVID ain't over. We're going to have challenges, and a county judge must be prepared to deal with the issues. And I think I've explained to you how I will lead Bexar County.
Thank you. Before we go on to the next question, I want to go back to a statement that you made about personal freedoms, and you made a comment that there was something there in that personal freedom space that would give you cause for concern. Can you dive into that a little deeper?
Well, as a member of the legislature, when I went back for this last legislative session, the hot debate topics were vaccinations, the need, whether we should wear masks or not, following CDC guidelines. The fact of the matter is, if you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. If you don't want to wear masks, stay home. The fact of the matter is, when your personal freedoms infringe on the health and safety of the community, that is a problem. That is a problem because your personal beliefs are infringing on the rights of the health and safety of other people. So that was what I wanted to discuss.
Judge.
Also highlighting.
Eddie, let me follow up on that comment. And this is where I see the opportunity and to fulfill the promise I made to you. I have to engage in the conversation with the business community. I personally believe in balancing the personal responsibility is also the personal responsibility of that business owner to its customers, its employees. What we need to do is have a honest and open communication so that, I'll be real blunt, let's put that responsibility on the business community. You better take care of your customers, you better take care of your employees, and let's move forward. And perhaps that's the balance. And that's where I believe we can make great decisions. Something that can keep businesses open, but businesses, you take responsibility to protect and make sure the health and well-being of our community is at the first and foremost. Thank you.
We did, this last legislative session, we did pass liability for businesses. It basically says they won't face liability if they proceed in a good faith manner. They institute the protocols, they follow guidelines to protect the safety of their customers and their employees.
But from what I understand from what both of you said, neither of you believe that we need to shut down businesses again. Is that correct?
Correct. I think that now that we have the blueprint and we've learned from what's happened in the past, businesses can make the decision to operate according to the COVID guidelines, providing the safety mechanisms to ensure the safety and health of their employees and their customers. However, if they choose to willfully not implement those protocols, well, then that's another story. They will face liability there. And
the commitment I made was to basically hear the data, hear the doc, and we're going to have to make tough decisions. And that, I believe we shouldn't commit ourselves to say what we're going to do as a county judge. I believe that's an abdication of duty. We're going to have to make sure the science, the doctor, and we have to protect our community in whatever ways are necessary.
Bexar County has a chief administrative officer in the county manager, whose equivalent at the city of San Antonio is the city manager. Do you support the county manager form of government? And if not, what alternative governance structure would you support? Judge?
You want to go first?
Either
All
way.
right. The answer is yes. We have basically our current county manager is David Smith, and I worked with him all those years at the courthouse, so I'm very familiar with county government and the operations. And I basically, as local administrative judge in children's court, had to run a multi-million-dollar budget for the courts and defend the judiciary with the county. But what I've learned in this campaign, and I've learned a lot, and listening to business owners, to listening to stakeholders, county employees, and partners who work with the county, they feel ignored and they want better customer service to meet their needs, is what I've heard. Now, how does this apply to the county manager? I support the county manager government, but what I am going to expect is that the county manager is going to have to be accountable for the county to maximize the efficiency and the effectiveness and the consistency when delivering services and supporting our taxpayers. Example, procurements, vendor payments, grant funds, constituent services. I will hold the county manager accountable in behalf of the county to enhance and establish department-wide improved customer service. I will work with my elected officials to make sure that they're also providing customer service. We are a big county. We are a metropolitan county, and we need a professional staff that always works in a professional way. And that's my pledge to you as your next county judge.
Representative Minjarez.
I do, in fact, support the need of a county manager. The Commissioners Court needs to focus on the issues that matter most to the residents of Bexar County. There are policy considerations that we need to constantly be focused on and working on. The county manager is needed to focus on the daily operations. The Commissioners Court cannot be micromanaging those daily operations. That is the role of the county manager. We do take advice from the county manager, not necessarily have to take it. We can challenge the county manager. But most importantly, we do need to understand the role that employees play in the running of Bexar County. We need to invest in their professional development. We need to ensure that they have the resources, that they're paid well, that they're listened to. If there is a problem, that needs to be addressed. But again, only will Bexar County be able to service the people if we have the right people working for us. And whatever resources they need to get better, we need to provide that. But I am fully support of a county manager continuing in his role.
Judge.
You know what, Eddie, I think this sometimes is where people get confused with county government. We have the county judge and 4 county commissioners who are all elected officials. They answer to the voters. And so in essence, the county manager has 5 bosses, and he has to be sensitive and follow the directives. But the county doesn't move unless there's a majority of 3. And that's where we distinct ourselves from the city government, where the city manager basically is the CEO, so to speak, of the city, and the city council provides the direction and the policies for the city manager. And that's the reason why the county manager form of government in its current form, I believe, works because he has to put things together and make sure. But like I said, I believe that's what the issues are in regards to county government, is to make sure that we're delivering services in the most effective, efficient way, in a consistent way, and work with our elected officials. And that's the reason why the county manager government works at this time.
Bexar County is scheduled to receive millions of dollars from the Treasury Department as a result of the American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA funds. If you were to be elected, and just right now, just to share your thoughts and opinions, how would you describe or how would you list the top 3 priorities for how Bexar County should use those ARPA funds?
Who goes first?
Either one.
All right. Well, first of all, obviously, I want to deal with the infrastructure issues. That's one of my platforms. But let me be clear. Infrastructure is not just about roads, about water. It's not about flood control parks, the trails, but it also deals with public safety. It also deals with the justice system. And more importantly, and I'm going to address this a little bit, is the high-speed internet access, the digital divide. And so basically, that is an area where I want ARPA funds to concentrate on. But let's not forget that we need to support education, affordable housing, the justice system that impacts the children and families the most. Economic development is also a ARPA priority. What I want to do is develop public and private partnerships, especially with our great nonprofits, the LIFT Fund, Jenny Bedetta's fund, who is working with our small businesses, especially on the west side of San Antonio. What we also need to do is support with ARPA funds our workforce training programs through the Workforce Solutions, the Alamo College District, and the school districts with their career and technology programs, and the Ready to Work program that the city of San Antonio is putting into effect. And finally, one of the third priority is quality internet access to deal with the digital divide. And it's not only for the students that were basically cut off, so to speak, in their education during the height of the COVID-19, but also for the businesses, especially small businesses, for the workforce. We know that fast and reliable internet service is crucial for the world of opportunity. And small businesses are going to have to recognize they're going to have to get on board or they're going to get left behind. Research has proven that quality internet access makes employees more productive and positively impacts a business's bottom line. And so this is what I told, in fact, a group of business owners this morning, the Associated Contractors. I said, do you know what? The old sign in the window looking for workers, that's gone. You're going to have to develop connectivity with the workforce through your social media. And you're going to have to be able to we're going to have quality, high-speed internet connectivity to do that.
Representative Minjarez.
Thank you. So as a member of the Appropriations Committee in the House, I was also designated to serve as the vice chair of the ARPA funding for the state of Texas. And what's important to know before I answer specifically what my priorities would be for ARPA funding is that this funding is very specific. You need to be sure you are spending this ARPA funding according to the federal guidelines. If you do not spend that funding and according to these guidelines, you are subject to an audit and a clawback. We are going to face consequences. So we have to make sure, number one, that we are following the guidelines. Number two, the priorities are substantial in terms of where we need to focus this funding. We need to also visit with the city, figure out what they're going to be spending on and what we're going to be spending on. But specifically, what are the county priorities for myself? Number one, I'm always concerned about access to health care. Public health is important to me. That also embraces the need for mental health services in this county. We have a number of healthcare deserts throughout the county, and it's time to get the services to the people who don't have the transportation, don't have the ability to access healthcare and mental health services. Number two, closing that digital divide. We saw what that pandemic brought to this community. Children who were having to go to hotspots and parking lots in order to do their homework, people, adults who could not access internet to apply for jobs, get information on what was happening in terms of COVID and the pandemic. The internet is not a luxury, it is a need. At the legislature for so long, leadership believed that internet service and broadband was a luxury. It took a pandemic for them to understand that it is a need. So we've got to figure out how we close that digital divide, how we make it accessible and affordable for all. And then my third priority would also be at economic resiliency. How do we look at helping our small businesses? How do we help them get back on their feet? And when I mean small businesses, I mean the true small businesses, mom and pop shops. Not 500 employees and higher, those that are truly small mom and pop shops that have put their blood, their sweat equity into their businesses, their dreams into that business. What do we do to get them back up to par about capital and also essential work pay and how do we get back to our economy to a good place?
All right, both of you mentioned the digital divide. It is believed that 20% of Bexar County lacks access to high-speed internet. SA Digital Connects is pushing to draw down federal and state dollars to address this inequity and is asking Bexar County and the city of San Antonio to commit to $50 million each in funding over the next 3 years in order to meet the local match. If elected, is this an allocation that you would support?
Most definitely. First of all, we're going to have to look, again, ARPA funding, what's available. Looking at the budget, where do we pull that money? But most definitely, I'm ready to commit to that, and we're going to find the funding. It is also important, this is where relationships are key. I have those established relationships with the state legislature, with the governor's office, lieutenant governor's office, working with the Speaker of the House, drawing down those dollars from the appropriations chair and talking with him and members of the Appropriations Committee. Also working with the Biden administration, bringing down those federal dollars back to San Antonio and Bexar County. All of this is going to take a collective effort from every level of government, and we've got to make sure we do this correctly. This is the one time we have the funds that are needed to close this digital divide. We've got to do it right, we've got to be smart about it, and we've got to do our due diligence.
Judge.
As I indicated earlier, obviously the digital divide is an important issue for me, and I'm willing to commit ARPA money to this. We know what impact that this digital divide has had on our children, families, workforce, and businesses. What I'm going to suggest are some ideas that the Sakai team has come up with, and that's to develop a collaboration with the land and economic development community who are developing our properties and the land out there in Bexar County. Just as we have shifted the cost to them to help put in the roads, to put into water, to put into sewers, to put into utility lines, what we need to do is basically make sure that high-speed internet connectivity, the broadband Wi-Fi, is also part of an infrastructure, an essential infrastructure. How we can do that as a county? We can make that as conditions in order to get tax incentives or tax abatements. And so basically, I have a plan in order to put infrastructure, not only from ARPA money, but to continue the sustainability to make sure that it is in all points in our county. And so basically, the other thing is that the county, through Nelson and Tracy Wolf, created a bibliothèque. And that is, we need to expand that process in the internet connectivity.
Both of you joined the picket line for the symphony musicians. And so my question is, was that action a rejection of the current offer on the table? Or if not, what message were you trying to send?
All right. In regards to the symphony issue, let me make it real clear. I support the San Antonio Symphony, from the musicians, to the board, to the supporters, to the patrons. But let me make this statement, and I hope it doesn't offend. But first, we got to stop looking at our musicians as minstrels and clowns. The musicians of this symphony are a collection of highly trained, skilled workers, and they're part of the richness of this community. Gilbert Garcia of Express News pointed out that the orchestra is in crisis. And Eddie, I think you were on the board. I think you'll view that the symphony contributes to the culture and vibrancy of our community. And as county judge, I will bring both sides to the table. This is a contract dispute, but they're not talking to each other. And I'm going to use the county judgeship as the bully pulpit to find common ground to resolve this dispute. In fact, Judge Wolf, in his book, in talking about the Tobin Center, talked about the San Antonio Symphony, which is involved into a first-class orchestra. We cannot lose our symphony.
I strongly believe in investing in people. And when the musicians came and asked for support, I was happy to provide that support. I know there are employers in this room today who invest in their employees. And I believe they contribute so much to our culture, to our arts. But what I want to point out, I want to point out is the fact that Bexar County has helped bail out the symphony with public dollars. And because of that, the county does need to take a role in trying to bridge what's going on, bringing the groups together. Now, the county judge can't force them to come together, but most importantly, they can encourage it, and it's not going to happen overnight. But I think our musicians need to feel valued. I think everybody who plays a role needs to understand the importance and the critical role they play, and the fact that the symphony, what it means to San Antonio and Bexar County, the culture, the arts, what it brings, the education value to our children, they all collectively bring so much to the table. It's about bringing them together to resolve the differences, and hopefully, and I truly believe that they can be resolved, but it takes good faith measures on each side. But again, I'm involved in this. I believe in investing in people, just as many of you who are employers believe in investing in the people that you employ and serve.
Judge.
Eddie, as county judge, there are ways that we can help these two sides of this, in this contract dispute in the symphony. And as county judge, it's something, to be honest with you, I did as a district court judge. We need to bring in mediators. And if not mediation, we're going to have to do what we have to do for the firefighters and police. We're going to have to bring in binding arbitrators. And as county judge, I'm going to use the bully pulpit to say both sides. And that also means I need to sit down and listen to the board. And I will take whatever invitation they have, say, Judge, you need to hear what our perspective is. And, you know, it's a contract dispute. And so what is lacking today and what needs to move forward is a mechanism for both sides to talk to each other. That's what I bring to the table as your next county judge, the ability to bring people together and resolve their disputes.
Let me ask a follow-up question, and then I'll let
Sure.
you. Let me ask you this. Since both of you joined the Musicians Union picket line, why haven't you met with the board and with management?
I'm waiting for an invitation.
Same, I'm always willing to meet with anyone who requests it.
Okay.
You know, the musicians asked for us to join them, and we took them up on that offer. But I do want to talk briefly about bringing in mediators. They've been working with mediators already.
Yes.
Mediators have already played a part in the discussions. So I just want to make sure the public understands that. So again, if they do not want to come together, that's the first problem, is we've got to work with them to want to come together in good faith. But mediators have already played a part in this process.
All right. So I saw that Sheriff Salazar is here today, and I think at one point earlier, both of you mentioned the sheriff's office. Of all the issues with the sheriff's office, the jail is the one issue that seems to constantly rise to the surface. So in your opinion, what do you think the problem is with the jail or the sheriff's office, and how do you plan to fix it? Sure, go ahead.
Well, first, let me say, I'm gonna have a problem with the question, because, you know, the issue is not a problem or what's wrong. The problem is it's the structure of the jail system. And so basically, there's two studies that the current county commissioners have done. And so what the next county judge is going to have to do is take those studies and work with the sheriff and work collaboratively with the leadership and executive teams from the county manager and his jail administrator in reviewing the findings and recommendations. So we're on a path to hopefully resolve the issues. But let me be more specific and drill down. I truly believe what the issue about the jail is obviously the overtime pay and the monies that the county has to budget for that. And that's what's caused the greatest criticism of the current jail administration. It's also the turnover of jail deputies that work in the jail. So the issue is about compensation in a high-stress and dangerous job. It's also about the amount of pay. And we're going to have to look at compensation for these workers, these county employees who work in these situations. I don't believe a jail administrator or the county manager can fix these problems by themselves until we get an adequately and properly and reasonably compensated trained workforce. And so what I am pledging to do is to work with Sheriff Salazar to find those solutions, to basically deal with the turnover issue. And an example of that many years ago was our school teachers that were not getting adequately paid. We had to raise them up, and more specifically in regards to CPS caseworkers. Until we got them adequately compensated, they were bleeding and they were leaving and they were causing chaos. And unfortunately, in today's situation, that's happened again. And that's the issue. CPS is in crisis because of compensation and because of the working conditions.
So in regards to the jail situation, you know, I mentioned I was a prosecuting attorney beginning in the year of 2000. In my opinion, there have been problems plaguing the jail since then, so for over 20 years. I am proud to be endorsed by the Bexar County Deputies Association. I have met with them extensively to listen to them talk about what they believe the problems are. what they believe they need in terms of resources. And I've also met with Sheriff Salazar to talk, because I wanted to hear from him about what he believes are the problems, like in the jail. His lack of resources, his belief that, he needs more funding to attract more law enforcement officers. He needs more resources. They need help with morale. I look forward, I am happy Commissioner's Court did request the 2 studies, and that needs to be looked at thoroughly to see what recommendations these jail experts have. Now, when we begin instituting those suggestions, it's not going to be an overnight fix. I mean, we're going to have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. However, I will say it's important to work with the sheriff, it's important to work with the Deputies Association, the rank and file, those that are in there day in and day out that can talk to us and be very truthful and honest about how they feel about their jobs and what they need to be successful, and also to look at how we address the overall problem. But this problem has happened for over 20 years. I've seen it as a prosecutor, I saw it as a defense attorney, and I've seen it as a state representative.
Both of you referenced 2 studies. Why do we need 2 studies to look at the sheriff's office or the jail administration?
Well, I think we need to step back from that question and address the way things have been done in the Commissioner's Court in relationship with commissioners and the sheriff. We have spent a lot of time arguing over a vote. And apparently, we couldn't come to an agreement that we should just have 1 study. And that's what is going to separate me as your next county judge. What we need to do is we got to focus in on the issue, and the issue is the jail. Understanding that it is also connected to the justice system and the backlog of cases over there, and we're going to have to get our justice system going, and that's in my wheelhouse. I know it because I was there during COVID to get our justice system up and running through the Zoom technology, and we were very successful in that. So it all has to come together in a process. And that's what I bring to the table as your next county judge. The ability to fix things and find solutions and not argue over votes.
I think, it's important. I think voters are tired of seeing commissioners arguing and behaving like school children on the playground. They want to see the work done. They want to see that their taxpayers are being good, that their tax money is being put to good use. And at the end of the day, it's going to require the sheriff and hearing him out and what he believes needs to be changed. What we need to listen to those that represent the Bexar County Deputies Association. Also, I want to hear from the DA. I want to know what he believes needs to be done in terms of the backlog. We need to talk inclusively, everyone who touches the criminal justice system. I even want to hear from those advocates who represent those who are jailed because simply about the fact that they're poor and can't afford to bond out, and they're in jail for petty offenses like small amounts of marijuana. So it's going to take a collective conversation to really address the problems at the jail.
There have been a lot of conversations about whether Bexar County should enter and create their own metro health system, if you will, through the university hospital system. Is that a good idea? And if so, or if not, why or why not?
I really support the new initiative, public health initiative that Commissioner's Court is proceeding with. We definitely, as I mentioned before, Texas has the highest rate of uninsured people, and we need to start addressing our healthcare deserts. This is something that we need to provide to our community, again, to start addressing health inequities. We've seen where, based on the zip code you live in, you are subject to whether or not you're going to get quality healthcare or any healthcare at all. So now we need to focus on where the resources go. And I think this is a wonderful attempt to try to collaborate, not just with the city of San Antonio, but all of the suburban areas and those parts of the unincorporated Bexar who have never had access to health care. This is the only way we're going to start addressing our health disparities. This is where we start working with getting our children and our adults getting them the health care they need so that they can start working, they can get the necessary resources, but we have a role to play in that, and I'm happy that we're actually heading into this direction. It's a long time coming. We've ignored that for a very long time, and so I'm happy that we have the ability now to see the problem and to start addressing it, and we're doing that, and I'm proud of Commissioner's Court for making that decision.
Judge Sakai.
Yes, I support this initiative to create a public health entity through the county. And as Representative Minjarez has correctly stated, the county is the unincorporated area of the 26 municipalities along with the city of San Antonio. And we sometimes we take for granted, well, it's a city and county. Well, we've got 26 cities and the unincorporated area that we need to take care, especially for health care and health services. What I believe is important in this initiative is that it is connected with the University Hospital District, which I believe is one of the finest health institutions in the county, if not the state. And we saw that. We saw how the University Hospital District stepped up during COVID, right? We saw the vaccinations at Wonderland Mall. We saw that the testing and the medical services provided at the Freeman. I was there, I witnessed that. I was working with the Emergency Management Office of the county and seeing how they delivered services through the university hospital system. And so that's the reason why I support that, because I know that it's going to be a well-run program. And it'll be obviously an extension of University Hospital District and the services they provide. One of the things that I came to realize in this campaign is how collaborative the University Hospital District is and the hospital with the military and with the community, with the Tier 1 Trauma Center. And so I see this as an opportunity to expand services, expand access, but at the bottom line, let me go back to one of my stipulations. We can't duplicate, and we're going to have to make sure we're not duplicating with the city Metro Health, and we're going to have that discussion, and it's going to take a collaborative discussion with the city of San Antonio in regards to Metro Health.
Okay, we've reached the point of the program where we're going to turn to the audience to ask questions. So Martin has the microphone. Do we have anybody that wants to ask? Because if not, I will keep talking. Stephanie has her hand raised, but I'm going to keep talking. Go ahead, Stephanie Reyes.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yeah, put it a little closer.
Okay. Stephanie Reyes. I'm CEO for the Real Estate Council of San Antonio. We represent the real estate development community. So my question is, property taxes continue to skyrocket. So as county judge, how would you get that under control?
I think one of the discussions that we need to have is the fact that I think, in my opinion, the appraisal process is antiquated and needs to be completely revamped. Now, that's something that our state legislature needs to start addressing. But there's been an attempt. So, Senator Roland Gutierrez tried to address the appraisal system. Representative Steve Allison as well, but their bills never got hearings. Now with everyone facing their appraisal values and people getting, put out of their homes because they can't pay their property taxes, I think state leadership now has no choice but to start actually facing the problem. They would claim every session to address property tax reform. Well, none of it was meaningful. It was small Band-Aids. Now their constituencies are going to start putting the pressure on them to start looking at different measures, and they're going to want results now. The county of Bexar it's an arm, it's an extension of state government. And so as county level, we have to figure out what can we do to work with leadership to address property tax reform, but what are the tools that we can do to start giving our families some relief. I'm very happy and proud to have sponsored 2 amendments that are coming on the May 7th ballot that are going to provide property tax relief. One for seniors 65 and older, and those that are disabled, and the second is increasing the homestead exemption from $20,000 to $40,000. That's going to bring, if these 2 measures pass, that's going to bring over $60 million in property tax relief for our Bexar County homeowners. And that's going to come to about $175 to put in their pockets. So I've worked on this issue, so I look forward to figuring out what our options are, what are other exemptions? Are there exemptions that can be increased? We can work on the county level to offer some relief, but we've got to really put the pressure on the legislature to actually deal with the problem and give the meaningful relief that our families deserve.
Representative Minjarez hit it. It's been the failure of the legislature to deal with this issue. And they basically have done things to create property tax relief with reductions. Obviously, we saw what the big issue right now is. It's property valuations and appraisals. And we have a flawed system because the legislature has failed, especially in regards to the homeowners. The financing of basically our local governments, we know that the city and county, if you look at your tax bill, the big bill is school districts and the financing of public education. And what the legislature has done over the years is they basically have redirected the property tax dollars that are collected and sent to the state, and they have put it over to the general revenue to support their budget. We've also seen that basically we don't have an open and transparent appraisal process, and that needs to be overhauled. Now, this is where, as county judge, I'm willing to cross the aisle and work, because Governor Abbott in his Taxpayer Bill of Rights has made some suggestions or recommendations that I'm willing to agree to. Let's shift more money to the state in regards to the financing of public education. He's also suggested a 3% discount for early payment on your property taxes. I support that. And he is also supporting a more open and transparent process in appraisal. So as county judge, and Representative Minjarez has correctly stated it, that has been a state function that the state has failed to follow through, especially for the homeowners. And we're going to have to find ways to protect our seniors, to protect our disabled, to protect our veterans, in order so that at least the seniors can age in place. And so as county judge, I'm going to use the county judgeship as a bully pulpit to protect the most vulnerable in our society, and especially when it comes to the seniors and the payment of their taxes, so that they have dignity and respect to age in place in their homes.
Next question from the audience. Please identify yourself.
Of course. Thank you both for being here. Selena Gibsett. I am a board member of SARA, San Antonio Regional Alliance of the Homeless. I am also the consumer board member, meaning that I am the only one at the table with lived experience for our city. My question is, I was driving here today, I saw more people living under the bridge of 10, right? Like literally as I was driving up Fredericksburg. There are only 30 detox beds in all of Bexar County. So this is more of a request that both of y'all go to Corazon Ministries right downtown next to CAM and speak with a young woman by the name of Madeleine Santibanez, who is director. And she will personally let you all know the lack of support that is coming from the county. We need to support our local individuals who are dealing with mental health and drug abuse, right? As gentrification continues to just plague our city and run people out of their homes as renters and homeowners, I would like to see that support of more beds that are accessible so that we can get people cleaned and get them working.
Do we have a question?
More of that was a statement and request. Thank you.
Okay,
Can I make a statement?
certainly.
That is an issue I have dealt with as a district court judge in hearing those abuse and neglect cases. The number one issue in our county in regards to the abuse and neglect is drug and alcohol addiction. And you're correct. We don't have enough beds to deal with those that have severe addiction. And so my pledge to you as county judge is to always remember that children and family should be always part of the discussion of infrastructure, economic development, and education. And drug and alcohol addiction and the treatment of those issues is also a commitment I make to you as your next county judge. Because what happens is we've got to create a wellness. We've got to stabilize our families. Part of the homeless issue, and that's the reason why I'll go on record today, I support the city bond proposition in regards to housing, because we need to increase the capacity of housing. What we need to do is get people off the streets. But what we have in the Haven for Hope are the working poor, people that have been evicted because they lost their job or the bills or the medical bills just became insurmountable. And so the issues are complex, and it's going to take a well-coordinated and collaborative, and that's my pledge to you is as county government. I'm not pledging county's going to fix these issues. What I am pledging is I'm going to have listened to you, I'm going to develop collaborations, and I'm going to implement and execute those plans and those strategies necessary that will protect our most valuable asset in our community, which is the children and families.
Representative Minjarez.
Sure, thank you. You know, one of the commitments that I made and the priorities was always at the legislature was to continue to find resources and funding to address substance abuse issues. Going into that budget and combing through it and trying to find the dollars necessary to bring back funding back to Bexar County and San Antonio to try to increase a number of beds. You know, traveling the state of Texas and meeting with different communities and seeing the lack of substance abuse centers and treatment centers for women, especially women who have children, women who had to make the tough decision of putting their kids in foster care so they can get the substance abuse treatment that they needed, or foregoing substance abuse treatment. The fact of the matter is, we don't put enough money into these substance abuse facilities. We don't put enough money into mental health. We don't put enough money, and we need to start really focusing on what are our priorities. Like I mentioned, we've got this ARPA funding coming down. This is a critical time that we can start focusing on public health, focusing on mental health, and we need to start doing that. We're never going to start fixing our problems in this county regarding homelessness, regarding mental health, until we start actually addressing them. We do have resources. Haven for Hope, I appreciate Haven for Hope, but that's not the only answer. We've got to think bigger. We've got to think about how we address people, reach out to people, and give them the resources they need. If we start doing that, we can get them out of the cycle of poverty, we can get them into work, we can have them paying their taxes, and we will be a vibrant community.
Well, thank you. And now we've reached the part of the program for closing remarks. And again, based on the coin flip that we had earlier, Judge Sakai, you will go first.
Well, let me thank you, Eddie. Let me thank the chambers and the partners and KSAT for live streaming this. My name is Judge Peter Sakai, and I'm running for county judge of Bexar County. You know, we've had Judge Wolf there for, 20 years, and he led us through this COVID pandemic issue, and we have gone through it. But the challenges in the post-pandemic recovery are going to be just as great and just as challenging. And so today, I'm asking for your support and vote. Why? Because as a servant leader, I have made certain promises and pledges to you. And I want to reiterate that I will promise to always to listen to you, to always give you dignity and respect, to always work in a collaborative way, and to improve customer service. I want consistency from county government. As I said earlier, I want to have my county manager be held accountable for that. I want to work with our elected officials on tough issues, working with Sheriff Salazar on the jail issues. I want to be physically responsible in keeping you, the taxpayers, and children and family in the forefront. In regards to the challenges, I've already publicly stated this. I believe the county is going to have to go through a process. We've got to tighten up the belt, so to speak. I know that Judge Wolf and the prior Commissioners Court have had the opportunity and the ability to create legacy projects, wonderful projects, Mission Trails, the creeks, then the linear parks, and the trailways, San Pedro Creek. But I believe with ARPA money running out, and by the time I get to the Commissioners Court, that money will already be either be spent or designated by the current Commissioners Court. So whoever takes over is going to have to come up with out-of-box, innovative ideas that protect all the interest, especially the taxpayers and the business community, and the discussions we've had today.
Time.
I look forward to working with you for the common good.
Representative Minjarez.
Thank you for the opportunity to be with you all this afternoon to share our vision and priorities of the county. I have had, again, the extensive experience and training that's going to be needed to lead this county. What I hear meeting with voters is, one, they distrust county government, they don't believe that there is transparency, and they want that to change. I will bring that back to Bexar County. I want to work on the trust issues that our voters feel are not there. They distrust county government. So it is important now to focus on new leadership. It's a new era for the court, focusing on being responsive to the voters, being responsive to the taxpayers, working and focusing on the issues that matter to them. Meaningful property tax relief, focusing on our infrastructure, community health and safety, and all the other issues that when they come before the court and they want results and they want answers, we provide those to them. I look forward to working collaboratively with all members of our community, with the experts in the community, so that we can come up with solutions, so we can provide a government that works and is responsive to the people. I hope that I can gain your support as your next Bexar County judge. I am ready to get to work. I have the experience necessary, and I look forward to serving as your next Bexar County judge.
I want to thank our audience, not only those of you who are here in person, but also those who are watching online for being here for today's forum to hear the candidates for the Democratic primary runoff for Bexar County judge. The winner of this election on May 24th will face Republican Trish DeBerry in the November election. A link to the recording of today's events will be available on the websites of all four chambers. It will also be available on social media and on ksat.com, the KSAT app, and on the KSAT Facebook page. We encourage all chamber members and your entire families and circle of friends to hit the polls. Early voting starts Monday, May 16th, and goes through Friday, May 20th. Election day is on Tuesday, May 24th. So on behalf of the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber, the San Antonio Chamber, the North San Antonio Chamber, and the South Texas Business Partnership, I again thank all of you for being here today, and at this time I would like you to help me thank our candidates for being here and sharing their thoughts and ideas.